Welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, Pat and James discuss who, not how. Who's going to open that door for you? Who's going to give you a hand up? Who's going to help you move your career forward? Shortly before we began this discussion, Pat had described living in a cold Vancouver basement apartment with the young man that would soon become her husband. But this is interesting because it cuts to a piece that you sent me this week called Who, Not How.
Yes.
And so you're in this basement dwelling, freezing, forced to go to 5-star Michelin restaurants for warmth.
Or the shithole down the street. You paint that picture.
Yeah. Or the Chinese takeout campus.
No, not takeout. We can't do takeout. Where are we going to get warm with takeout?
Yeah. So you said, how am I going to get out of this predicament?
Yeah.
And you found your who, not how.
Totally.
Who am I going to get? Who are the allies? Who are the people that ergo the whole reason for our podcast?
Right.
How to increase your financial creative value, I guess.
I think so. Oh, that's a good one because I was thinking I was thinking about my why yesterday, not for the podcast necessarily, although that's part of it, but for the whole business. Because what I think happens to me is when I finish a bunch of deadlines, I work, I just work ridiculous hours to make those deadlines, and sometimes, not all the time. And then after they're in, I'll go through this period of questioning myself. Was it yesterday or the day before? I was kind of in a churlish mood in the morning, and I was like, I had another little deadline, or I think it was yesterday. I had another little deadline, actually two, and but I was reading the pros, and I was like, am I wasting this person's money? Because really, you cannot bootstrap a total novice writer up into best-selling. You just can't. It's they need to learn, so much, and you can't do it on one manuscript. It's a years-long process. So even though, we have this exchange going on and I know this writer's goals, I had this kind of moment of doubt, and then I was like, well, the writer has goals and they're going to work with somebody on them, and it might as well be me because I care, I care a lot. And so but I was thinking, what about my goals? What are my goals? Why am I spending a really nice day in this closet helping a writer that I really hope they make what they want to make, but I don't feel super confident about it just because they're at they're almost like in kindergarten of writing school, and want to go to the prom in June, so so then I thought, wait a minute, though, because I was like getting really sort of lackadaisical, not so much about that writer because I have a deadline and I respond well to deadlines, but with my own stuff, I was like, okay, I got to get Teachable pulling its weight this year. I've got a bunch of stuff to do in the podcast. I'm not sure how I'm going to monetize the podcast. So, it's fun. So I'm going to do that. And there was a couple of other things. Oh, my novel. And then I thought, I got to update my website. There's all bunch of stuff that's very administrative, as you call it. And I finally kind of turned myself around. I did a bit of a meditation, and then I went, I think what's going on here is that I lost my why. And my why, in fact, is to use these sort of less hectic times to create the proper container for my more, to have that sort of background income always there. And I can do that with Teachable, and I can do that with turning a course into a drip-fed course for Editorial Arts Academy. So just like I had to remember that stuff is going to allow me to take on fewer, sort of messy, like high tension projects, and just have more creative time and be able to not work weekends and relax. And I'm like, man, I keep like having to relearn that aspect of my business over and over again.
Yeah. Well, the same thing happened to me. So I've finished in the last 3 months, 2 books, 1 or 2 developmental edits, and I kind of have developmental editing as like the background thing.
Yeah.
So it provides just a little bit more income. It provides a distraction from just solely focusing on one, big project kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, but the books are big, and usually the last part of doing a book is just really intensive, and you have this like focus because you're so
Yeah.
close to that finish line.
Yeah.
And then you get done, and all of a sudden I hit a period of where I'm demotivated, you
Yeah.
know, and I just need to not think about writing, and the developmental editing actually is kind of a good thing to have,
Yeah.
and, because it's such a high level kind of thing. It's not
Mhm.
nitty like writing or like line editing or stuff like that,
Yeah.
and um, and so that helps. But yeah, so I should be using this time really doing exactly what you just described, thinking
Mm.
about what's my purpose, and what is my time? What are the high value things that I can do with my time?
Yeah.
Which is when I have a book project and I've got lots of things going on, I'm really good at. But when I don't have that book project and lots of things going on, I sort of lose that ability to like really sort of have my day focused on here's the high value stuff
Yeah.
plus the mental health piece,
Yeah.
which is getting outside, exercising, engaging. I'm more loner than not, so engaging with people feels stressful.
Yeah.
So
Me
not
too.
engaging with people is my mental health.
People are so weird. Yeah.
People are tough. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I lose that, and I get kind of out of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. That's exactly it. I love that expression "out of sorts" because it is I'm talking to myself like I'm 2 different people, and one of me is saying, "Get your shit together," and the other one is saying, "I don't care about anything," "Fuck
Yeah.
off."
Yeah, and it's not nihilism, right? It's
Yeah.
more, it's escapism, and,
Yes.
um, like, before we came on, I was like, "Oh, so we're probably gonna talk about me being a stencher because I have my summer office," right? I pulled together this little jar of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like, "What is it?"
That's my collection of Hemingway's toenail clippings and
I can't tell if you're joking.
well,
You
we'll leave it to people to figure out.
It's just strange enough, and you're just the kinda guy who might actually have stumbled across that in a Key
Yeah, on
West
eBay,
somebody's basement in Key West, and you're like, "What's this?" "Oh, Hemingway came over. This is the only place he liked to clip his nails." Oh, "Oh, oh, can I have
yeah,
it?" "Sure, whatever."
I stole his false teeth after but that's like, instead of
Yeah.
so is that a high value thing, right? And I suppose there's an argument that, if that's the moment of humor
Mhm.
that people talk about and become, spreads throughout the internet, like, then sure, yeah, that's high value. But yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah,
So, like, there's the honest, so that's the grandiose, thinking,
yeah, yeah,
but, yeah, so what should I be doing? So I have this time, I'm not writing a book, I have 2 developmental edits, and then I think, like, another book couple of book proposals kinda
mhm.
went, but, but that's low, that's like,
For you,
big.
yeah, yeah,
And so what is the high value thing I should be doing? And
yeah,
so it's interesting that you send the who, not how,
yeah,
because yeah, rethinking about and it's not to ask yourself how, but who are the allies that can help you get to where you want to go? And you
yeah,
have to know where to go to start to be able to
yeah,
know who.
yeah, interesting. The who, not how for me is like, it's so logical, and then when it comes down to actually executing the who versus the how, it seems to happen almost by chance. Like it's not really as deliberate as just, like the mortgage example, asking my business partner, or he offered and I said, absolutely, please do, getting to write me a letter. Um, so I think uh there's this kind of, for me, the big picture thinking, like, what should I be spending my time on? It really is it's almost like it's like applying common sense to a situation. Common sense says, if I am going to be able to do some creative work without chasing the project after project thing, and then I'm going to have to do a bunch of different things, and like right now to in order kind of, but spend some time on Teachable, like do a better job of promoting the course that I have on there, and put up another course. I have the courses already done. I just haven't done it, and that was in a downtime like 3 years ago that I finished those. And
Yeah.
it would take another probably 30 hours to finish getting them all up, and turning one of the handouts into genesis of a workbook, stuff like that, like just very logical. um and I have trouble committing to logical things. It seems like there's like this, um and I'm always pretty disciplined, so it's not about not being able to force myself to do something. It's more like, if I can't remember why I'm doing it, if I'm like, well, yeah, I had that on my list, but I need to recommit, and the only way I can recommit is by changing my mindset. It's like that. I'm almost
Yeah.
avoidant about. I really actually am avoidant about a lot of stuff, and that never ends well. It's very stressful.
Yeah. Well, it's always interested me that the only thing that very detail oriented and um, could be described as sort of anal retentive about is writing. And
Hmm.
that's it. The rest of my, life is like, the fates will take care of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not a problem. But that, I get really obsessive about it's gotta be right,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Good enough isn't good enough. It's gotta be, it's
Yeah.
gotta hit what I'm trying to hit. And knowing that, I'm an imperfect person, so I'm not always gonna, achieve my goals for myself,
Mhm.
but I have them, and they're
Yeah.
really, you know but, one thing that I find and very key to this podcast about how do you grow out of this middle zone of creative, work,
Yeah.
is you have to do new things.
Yeah.
And when you first start, you have no choice but to do new things because everything is new, and you're
Mm.
motivated by one, the desire to be a creative person and the desire to make money. And so you focus on where do they intersect. And right now, it feels a little bit ambiguous as to, seeing, generating the energy and focus to do the new things or to find the new things that have the intersection of, the financial and the creative, and then maintaining that, motivation over the course of, following through.
Mhm. Mhm.
Don't know where it's going to end. And it can be a little bit, well, I've tried these things before and they haven't worked. So, you kind of find ways to talk yourself out of it and stick
Yeah.
with the true. So,
Yeah. Self-doubt can creep in quite easily. I think that's part of my battle when I'm not super busy is, I start questioning, what I'm doing, and then, although I know that I do not wanna go out and get a jobby job, I'm like, "Well, they do get 45 minutes for lunch," you know? I'm in here stewing about, that everybody else gets paid vacations and 45 minutes for lunch, and I'm like, I could be stewing about that on my lunch break. Like, why am I sitting in my office to to doubt myself? It's like
yeah,
it's like you're in your own cage sometimes with this kind of, self-employment stuff, and, half of it, everything great that's happened, this is why I'm so into this podcast partly, is because it came from left field. You and I were just shooting the shit about writing, and then, it went from there, and, that's how I got into teaching, which I love. That's how I got into editing. I got a gig through my brother's friend, and I was like, people do this for money. I had no idea. Um, so that's what I feel like. Anything that starts that way for me, I'm super interested in the new part. I don't care that I don't know where the money part's going to fit because I just really want to do it.
Yeah,
And then I can figure out how to make the money part fit. But things
yeah,
that are just completely self-directed, where nobody's like offering me, a boar's head on a golden platter saying, "Hey, how about you do this for us?" Like if it's me thinking, "Oh yeah, I should do that. I know that's going to work." I have a little more kind of I'm a little less enthused, even if it's going to be fun, because I'm the only one involved. Maybe I'm a natural collaborator. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. So here's my question too, right?
Hmm.
Which is related. You know, do you feel like, okay, I've achieved a certain level of professional status, professional ability, professional experience, that opportunities should be coming to me, and feeling kind of maybe sometimes rejected by whatever the establishment is that should be sending these opportunities, or feeling like there's some kind of universal unfairness here, that I'm not getting the opportunities that other people seem to be getting.
Mm. No, no, I don't feel that way at all. I felt that I had a victim mentality with my marriage. I just felt like I that 25 years should not have ended that way. That was sad, you know?
Yeah, that
And
yeah,
I
I'll say it. That was bullshit. That's
Thanks.
fucking bullshit.
Thank you. And so I didn't I and I had to really learn how to not have a victim mentality around that stuff. But I've never ever had it with work because I'm so clearly in charge here. And I don't feel there is really an establishment for editing. There's nobody writing for sure, maybe, traditional publishing, absolutely. But the longer I work with writers and the more exposed I get to how traditional publishing works, the more I realize it's just like a circus. Somebody's in charge for sure, but they're the same person who's in charge of one ring is not hiring clowns for the other ring. So I can just be the best clown I want to be, and somebody will figure that out. But it's not anything I feel sort of jealous of or victimized by, or I should be up there I should be on the top clown list, because there's no top clown list, and it's also subjective. And so I feel fine about it. I kind of like swimming in the ocean where you have no idea what's a shark and what's a minnow. Keeps things interesting.
You're just a blind angler fish.
I'm a clownfish.
Yeah, yeah, the blind clownfish. Don't eat me. You know, maybe I'll eat you.
Why do you feel that
Oh,
way?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It doesn't, I don't stew, like, um, so one of the best lessons I learned from my cancer experience is that if you start thinking too much like, woe is me, like,
Mhm.
I wish something else was happening, right?
Yeah.
That wish thing.
Mm.
And woe is me, it takes you down the dark pathway,
Yeah.
where all of a sudden your mind opens up to all of the negative possibilities, all the horrors that could you can dream of yourself with cancer,
Yeah.
ex- and it takes you out of the present, right?
Yeah.
And so I hate to use like buzz terms and phrases, but there is a role for mindfulness
Mhm.
in that experience and this experience, right?
Yeah.
And being in the present. But I have to admit, there's times like we were talking about, I really want to be able to be the who for my kids, right? Be
Mhm.
more partner, helping them get established. And they're at that age, 23 and 26.
Yeah.
And so I'll be reading about somebody who's, I feel like, is no different than I am, but has had either one key offer or for whatever reason, a number of offers, and they've found that sort of professional financial security to be able to make all those things come true for themselves. And so I
Yeah.
feel in that moment, I'll feel that resentment, and I'll feel like, I'm working really, really super fucking hard.
Mhm.
So why isn't the universe, responding to that?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
the fact of the matter is the universe is a cold, you know, a cold place that doesn't give a shit, which precisely sums up the world of publishing. And so for whatever reason, other people are, and maybe some of the reasons that they're getting opportunities are kind of bullshit, right?
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
some of them are completely due to the fact that they've also worked hard and they've put out good work, and so they've
Yeah,
earned everything that they're getting.
yeah.
So I have to fight my way back to that mindful, being in the moment and being present and being thankful, recognizing the things that I have been able to accomplish, and be thankful for the things that I'm in the process of accomplishing, because, you
Mhm.
know, we're always doing stuff even when we're feeling like we're not,
Yeah.
uh, and we also we have stuff that we've put out there,
Yeah.
uh, whether it's our own writing or short stories. Like, you have this book coming out,
Mhm.
which one should pre-order, but we have our own writing out there that could, find the right person at the right time in the right way.
Yeah.
And we have work that we're putting out that somebody could say, this is a really wonderful book. I wonder
Mhm.
who edited this, who's the person that helped this person do this.
Yeah.
So anything's possible.
Yeah. It is.
Thanks for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. We'd love to hear how we're doing, so please leave a comment, join our chat page, or send us an email at giftedunderachievers@substack.com. Have an awesome day.